Steve Hilton, thank you for welcoming us to your great
It's
state
not bad,
of
is
California.
it? Come on.
I know, what a scenery. Especially in DC, where we left at -15 and it's
Yes.
now 30 something here. Anyway, thank you for being on the Latest Show Live and GB News. You are a enigma because you were a Brit.
Yes.
I mean, do you still consider yourself a Brit?
Actually, literally, no. I've renounced my UK citizenship.
As of 2021?
No, I became a US citizen in 2021. I renounced my citizenship last year. It's interesting, the government is obviously short of cash. They charge you on the way out, £482
Really?
to renounce your citizenship.
Goodness
So
me.
I've done that, yeah.
Well, look, because of that, you're an American citizen. That means you can now run, and you are running for governor of
Yes.
California, the great state. First of all, just tell our viewers who maybe aren't so familiar with you, why did you want to be governor of California?
So, as some people might remember, I've worked in the past in politics. I worked with David Cameron when he's in number 10. I've got a background in policy, always been interested in it. Most of my career has actually been in business. I started companies back in the UK, including restaurants, a whole range of different businesses. I did a tech startup here in California. So the reason I mention all that is that most of my career has actually been in doing things, like making things happen, and that's how I kind of see what I've done in the past. And then more recently in America, people know me through having hosted a show on Fox News,
Yes.
which was a very improbable and unexpected turn in my career.
And it was a great show as well, very popular.
Turn in my career, but actually as the years went on, of course I loved doing that. It was an amazing opportunity. I'm really, really appreciative of it. But I just felt like the hankering to actually get back to doing things. And so a few years ago, with no real intent to run for office of any kind, I set up a policy organization called Golden Together. California is known as the Golden State. And so that was the name of the organization. I started traveling the state. I just sort of dipped my toe in the water, really. I started being asked to speak at Republican Party events all across the state. I started meeting people. I just really loved that, actually. And it showed me a whole side of the state that I hadn't seen before. It's such an incredible place. The range of different kinds of places, the scenery, the amazing beauty that we have in California, but also the incredible different businesses. Like, people know tech and Hollywood, but there's so much more to California. So all of that together just got me more and more excited about doing something practical for this state where I've raised my family, started a business, made my life here. I love it. I love California so much. It's totally going off the rails. It's a disaster.
Well, I was going to say, much like Britain, great country, I love my country, of course. Oh, I got some kiddos. Much like Britain, of course, we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, find our mojo again, and I think maybe that's the consensus in California.
Yeah.
Great debate last night. I think it looks like you won it according to a poll.
Yes,
but
I'll take it. Yeah.
The leftist media said it was too close to call, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But
well, I think I got 53%, and the nearest person got about 7%. So I call that a win.
Oh, yeah. So in the debate, you were original because your rivals, they're all career politicians.
Yes.
And as you just alluded to, you your background, although you worked for David Cameron as director of strategy, you're not, you don't have a political background in office. What do you offer that's different?
Well,
to those guys?
I put that very clearly last night in the debate, and that's been a theme of what I've been talking about, which is I'm an outsider.
Yeah.
And you've got to shake this system up in California. It is totally broken. It's amazing, actually, when you look at California. It's now 16 years of one-party rule. 16 years where the Democrats have run everything, right? We have all these different, branches of government in California. Of course, you've got the executive branch, you've got the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, state superintendent of education. All these posts are elected.
Yeah.
So those are all held by Democrats and have been for at least 16 years. The state legislature, totally controlled by Democrats with a 2/3 majority for 16 years.
Does that not make your task impossible, though? I know.
Well, hang on, and then on top of that,
Yeah.
I mean, we're here in LA. You've got, we're actually literally in the city of Beverly Hills, which actually isn't run by Democrats, but LA is, the big counties are, like all the government basically is in the hands of Democrats. And the results are totally catastrophically bad. It's easy to forget when you're in such a beautiful place and people may come here on holiday and think, California's great, and they can see the visible aspects of the failure, right? You can see the homelessness, which is just an unbelievable disaster. It's hard to imagine
Yeah.
how that's been allowed to go on like that for so long. You look at the homelessness, you can see the crime, those things are visible. But underlying that, what you don't see is the economic disaster. Like right now, California, out of all 50 states in America, we have the highest unemployment rate, the highest poverty rate, the highest cost of living, everything that in a household budget, more expensive here than anywhere else. Gas prices, electric, rent, groceries, everything.
And fraud,
it's a disaster.
fraud and waste as well. They call it
Fraud off the
California.
I called it California.
You called it
Yes,
California.
exactly. Because it's just off the charts. Here's what's happened in California. In the last, in 5 years, they've nearly doubled the budget. Doubled. And everything's worse. And where's the money going? That's the number one question people are asking, which is like, we pay more and more in tax and we get worse and worse results. What's going on? And the more you look into it, and you're now seeing, obviously the people in charge in California right now, they're Democrats. They're not interested.
Yeah.
They love growing their bloated budgets because they can reward their cronies and they turn a blind eye to the fraud. But you've got now from the federal government, the Trump administration, in the form of both the Federal Department of Justice and the US Attorney here in California, they've started bringing prosecutions.
Yeah.
And especially here in LA, for the what's known as the homeless industrial complex.
Yeah.
Because this is the other big kind of question, which is how is it possible that we've spent more and more money, like every single year, on homelessness, and the problem just gets worse.
Yeah.
The more you spend, the more homeless. And in fact, the state auditor found, this was a couple of years ago, that $24 billion had been spent on homelessness, that they had no idea where it went.
Yeah, crazy.
And then the legislature, even the Democrat legislature, said let's have a detailed audit to try and find where the money went. And Gavin Newsom, the governor, vetoed that because he didn't want people to find out. And so what you're seeing now, thanks to these prosecutions, we are finding out. One guy stole, that's the right word for it, stole $27 million. It's supposed to be for homelessness. He bought a Range Rover, luxury holidays, like shopping.
Similar to what we're seeing in Minnesota with the
Exactly.
Somali fraud and so on. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's just one of many. Now, what I've said is that as governor, and also with my running mate for state controller, which is the position that has the power to audit every piece of state spending, we're going to absolutely expose all of it, and we're going to stop it.
Chad Bianco, who is your only Republican rival, he was missing from the debate last night.
Yeah.
You say he's got more baggage than LAX. You call him BLM
Bianco, yes.
What was the other one? Oh, the shifty sheriff.
The shifty sheriff,
Because he's the sheriff of Riverside.
He's a sheriff of Riverside County. I appreciate his service. Law enforcement, of course, is what we all depend on to keep us safe. But he did something that a lot of Republicans just can't accept, which is in 2020, during the Black Lives Matter riots in Riverside, as sheriff, the BLM, as they refer to it here, the BLM activists, they were running around everywhere doing this, take a knee. I remember the mayor of LA at the time, Eric Garcetti, they did it to him. I remember, I'd never heard of Chad Bianco at the time. I wasn't aware of what he did. I remember seeing the mayor of LA with the BLM mob outside his house saying, take a knee, and he did it there in the street. I remember thinking, that is one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
To bend the knee to the mob.
Well, Keir Starmer did it as well.
Right, well, Chad Bianco did it.
But Chad Bianco says he said he was praying or something. What's his excuse?
Well, I said, I said last night in the debate, watch the video and you judge for yourself. We put it up, blmbianco.org.
But just playing devil's advocate, what is, it was a high pressure time, there's cities being burnt down, the death of George Floyd. You could say he was under pressure. Everyone is under pressure to take the knee and just appear to be doing the good thing.
Well, it's when you're under pressure that your character is most exposed.
Yeah.
And it's exactly when you're under pressure that you're supposed to stand up to the pressure if you're a real leader. So that's highly revealing that he didn't.
Do you want him
but hang on a second, even if you can make the case for why he did it, which I don't accept.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Garcetti do it and thinking that's pathetic. At least own it.
Yeah.
At least explain why you did it. Don't pretend you were praying. It's ridiculous.
So there's no clips of you taking the knee back in 2020, 2021?
If you find them, then please let me know. I'm very confident you won't.
Do you want Bianco to drop out the race now?
Yeah, it's very important. We've got this ridiculous system in California. They call it the top two system. As the name suggests, instead of what you normally have, most other places, which is a Democrat primary and a Republican primary, you've got everyone on the same ballot, all the candidates, regardless of party, and whoever comes in the top two, they go forward to the general election runoff. And just because of the way that works, in California, you've had many different races for different positions where you've ended up with 2 Democrats in the top 2, just the way the maths works out of the vote share. And if that happens this time, it's a disaster for California. You're guaranteed another 4 years of one-party rule, no change. Everything will get worse, the stagnation, the unemployment, the poverty, the soaring cost of living, all that's just going to get worse. The climate insanity, the sort of pathetic response on crime and homelessness, the school results are a disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, on and on. We've got to have, at the very least, a choice.
Yeah.
Because if you have 2 Democrats, the voters don't even have a choice. And so it's very important. Now, right now, we're pretty much neck and neck in the polls, honestly, me and Chad Bianco. Sometimes I'm leading and he's second, other times he's leading, I'm second. So you could say it's tied when it comes to
But
the
he's splitting
polls.
the vote.
Exactly. And if we're not careful, we'll split the Republican vote and allow 2 Democrats in. So I very strongly am making the case we've got to get behind the strongest Republican candidate, and that's me. I don't have that kind of baggage, and I've got the business experience, the government reform experience, the policy expertise across the board to do the job and to win the election.
Can I ask though, it is a Republican stronghold, a Democrat stronghold.
Yeah.
14 years or so. We even went for a walk at the Hollywood Hills last night. We met a lovely dog walker. She was showing us around the great picture spots, and she was, bless her, she was a lovely lady, but she was a rabid, she had Trump derangement syndrome. She was not afraid of talking about Trump and talking about the insanity of the USA today. I couldn't be bothered for a debate or an argument, so I just kind of nodded my head and got on with it. But how are you expecting to win the state when it's so blue, even though you are leading the polls?
Well, I sometimes put the question a different way. How can the Democrats expect to win with the absolutely disastrous record that they've got? All logic says that we need a change of direction. Let me break down how I think we can do this. First of all, there's a majority in California for change. If you look at the polls that take the party out of it and just ask that question, is the state going in the right direction or the wrong direction? There's a very clear majority saying wrong direction, 60%, 65% or more. So you're starting from a position where a majority wants change. So that's good. Secondly, the Republican vote in California, it's definitely the case that the Democrats have been in charge for all these 16 years. As I said, it's 20 years since we last won an election. But it's a more Republican state than people think. It's actually the baseline Republican vote, even in a bad year for Republicans, is around 40%.
Yeah.
So that's obviously that's not 50, but it's not 20 either.
Yeah.
So you're starting from a higher level than people think. The next thing is when you look at the actual numbers of votes you need to win in California. This year, 2026, is a midterm election. Typically, there's a lower turnout. If you just look at the numbers from and take the average of the last 2 midterm elections to get an estimate of how many people are going to vote this time, the number you get to is 11.7 million total. So to win, you need just over half of that, call it 5.9 million. That's the target.
Done the maths.
So 5.9 million votes. You look at what President Trump got here. Trump in California in 2024, without even campaigning. It was never a target seat. They never expected to win California. He got 6.1 million votes. In other words, the Republican votes are there. We just need to get them to turn out. And there's a number of things we can do for that. A big one that is really important, is going to make a big difference this year, is a ballot initiative. So these are citizens' initiatives that go on the ballot on different policies. It's a big feature of how things work in California. And this year, there's going to be an initiative on the ballot for voter ID, to require ID
Well, that
to
sounds
vote.
a bit racist, voter ID.
There you go.
Doesn't it? Bit
So,
bigoted.
so voter ID isn't required in California right now. It's one of the ways that the cheating can happen, and it's going to be on the ballot. Now, actually, voter ID has a majority of support across all voters in California, but it's really popular with Republicans. So Republicans will turn out in larger numbers to vote for that, and my argument is they'll turn out for a strong candidate with a clear message on the things that matter to them. So my platform is really simple. $3 gas, cut your electric bills in half, your first 100 grand, no state income tax. We stop free healthcare for illegal immigrants, so we can lower healthcare costs for you, a home you can afford to buy. That's really common sense, practical things that I think will get people out to vote, because that's what they're desperate for, just practical things that make their life less of a struggle.
Yeah. Are you not worried though? You talk about the last election where Trump made inroads here. Are you not worried about maybe some of the controversy, warranted or not, around, say, ICE, for example, and the administration? Because one of your rivals, I've forgotten their names, one of the Democrats, was saying that one of their policies would be taxing businesses.
I've never heard anything so insane.
Taxing businesses who help ICE, i.e., or even serve ICE officers, say, a coffee or something, or slap a tax on them.
Well, next they'll be taxing iced coffee, just to sort of, because they just want to tax everything. I mean, it's just
insane, though, isn't
it's
it?
insane. And I mean, and we could talk about the actual immigration policy issue separately, but just in terms of the impact on that, there's a whole aspect of that debate that is never really aired, certainly not in the mainstream media here, which is that, and I really relate to this as a legal immigrant, and I often say I'm the candidate of the legal immigrant community, for the legal immigrant community. And I sit down with immigrants who've come here lawfully, doing it the right way, many of them years, even decades, to do it the right way. I was just in a Mexican coffee shop in East Los Angeles talking about all this, and we, presented it very neutrally. Just asked them what they thought. There's a lot of controversy about ICE, deportations, immigration. What do you think? Honestly, they talk about it. It's all of Mexican heritage, as you might see from the most fervent kind of, Stephen Miller, who's driving the immigration policy in the Trump White House. And the kinds of things they say are, we're sick of it. We're sick of going to the grocery store and we can see illegal immigrants shouldn't even be here with free EBT cards. That's the cash card for welfare benefits, food stamps on a card, EBT cards, free cell phones. They get their rent paid. We never had, it's just a very,
same as the UK, the hotels.
Question of fairness.
Yeah.
We did it the right way. We worked incredibly hard, sometimes 2-3 jobs, pursuing our American dream, our California dream. And these people just walk in and get all these benefits. No.
Yeah.
And I've asked them directly, like, there's that range of opinion in terms of who should be, on deportations, which is deport, people, illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, only committed violent crimes only, or everyone. And honestly, most of these people said all of them.
Yeah.
Now, that's not even going to happen, because just from a practical point of view, it can't.
Can't be done. Yeah.
But the idea that this is, and in particular, remember, California, 40% Latino. It's the largest group now. The largest group in California, demographically, and they are not. I don't want to, totally generalize, but and make assumptions about everyone. But certainly, there's a very strong voice within the Latino community who is sick of what's been going on and wants to see the rights of legal immigrants protected.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw that in New York. I was in New York for the election in November 24. All the legal migrants were saying the same thing. They're saying, we did this properly for years, we grafted, we did it the right way. And that's why you saw, I think it was the biggest Republican swing in the 5 boroughs of New York in decades. Let me just ask you, please, about comparisons between California and the UK. Do you see any?
Very much.
In the way of managed decline?
Totally. This stagnation and sclerosis is just, it seems to be exactly the same. In fact, somebody sent me, someone from the venture capital industry sent me a policy report that had been written in the UK by some analysts about what's been going wrong in the UK. And he sent it to me. He basically said, remind you of anywhere. And it was almost identical in how over the years the bureaucracy and process and bloat in government and in the regulatory state had just got so much that it's just almost impossible to get anything done, to build housing, to build infrastructure, to increase energy capacity. Energy, of course, is such a driver of costs in the economy and growth. So it's just this bloated, nanny state bureaucracy.
Is that incompetence or intentional?
It's both, in the sense that it's intentional because a lot of it is driven by interest groups and activists. So I'll give you one example of that. You've got an absolute explosion in California of nuisance lawsuits that make life impossible for, I mean, I used to own restaurants, so I feel this particularly strongly. You know, if you're a restaurant owner, you keep getting, this is just one small example among many, they're called PAGA lawsuits, P-A-G-A, Private Attorney General Act. This was a law passed 2004, which basically subcontracts to lawyers the enforcement of state labor law. What it's led to is endless nuisance lawsuits. If you don't give your employees, you know, the statutory break, if you're 1 minute late for the break, slap you with a lawsuit. If you spell their name wrong on a pay stub,
Really?
all this, like, ridiculous. And of course everyone has to settle because it's just not worth the hassle. So you've got a small local restaurant, 3 or 4 of these a year, each one 65 grand, 100 grand, big
Crazy.
businesses. A rancher just the other week I was talking to down in the south of the state, he had one just now. The claim was 89, I think it said 81 or 89 million dollars. And they settled at 3.8 or something. Just
Wow,
insane.
that's insane.
That's just one turn example. Now that's true. That's intentional. That's true. Who benefits from that? The lawyers, because they get a third of it,
Yeah.
and then of the remaining amount, 75% goes to the government. It's like a hidden tax. And so, and you've got the activist group pushing the climate agenda. So a huge driver of all of this in California is the climate extremism. Net zero by 2045 that's driving the cost of everything up. That's why you can't build housing anywhere. They say it's sprawl, which means that you know people are going to drive cars. No, we don't want that.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. There's so much of this in there, and it's the reason it's a lot of it's driven intentionally. But then the incompetence comes in when you have politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass here in LA just don't do anything about it. And the perfect example. It's almost an exquisitely perfect example of what's gone wrong in California to do with the wildfires here in LA.
Yeah.
And
They can't
about-
rebuild, right?
right, and about 4 or 5 months after the fire, Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, she put up a post on social media that said, "I've just signed an executive order streamlining permitting so we can quickly rebuild LA." I remember seeing that thinking, okay, good, you know, 4 months late, but whatever. Then I watched the clip of what she actually said at the press conference. Here are the words she actually said. "I have just signed an executive order tasking agency heads with developing paths forward to streamlining
Like a
permitting."
review.
It's just bullshit,
Yeah.
right? And that's what you got going on in California, just coming out of our ears. Just this endless, bloated, nanny state bureaucracy everywhere, and none of these politicians has the energy or the capacity to do anything about it.
Same as the UK, and I guess you could apply the same thing to the small boats crisis. So many companies profiteering off that, the hotels, the, you know, whatever, Aspen cars, it's just crazy. With the UK, you've got a bit of a revolution going on there as well. Lots of energy with your campaign here, breaking the mould of the Democrat stronghold. In the UK as well, you've got not just Reform and Nigel Farage, you've got even the Greens, Zach
Right.
Balansky's on the scene. So worlds apart politically, but two anti-establishment
Yeah.
types really taking a hold
Yeah.
in the polls. What do you make of that?
Well,
what,
I
what
think-
do you
I
see in
mean-
the next 3 years in the
Well,
UK?
this is the inevitable response to the scale of government failure that you get here, in particular how crushing it is for regular working people who are paying the price of this. And so I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I'm not closely involved, I'm not involved, never mind closely, not at all involved in UK politics. I read the occasional piece. I'm aware I come back at Christmas time to see family. So, you know, I sort of roughly know what's going on. And, you know, you hear about the cost of living crisis and all this. Of course you're going to get a response that says, we're sick of this and we want change. And they elected a Labour government that seems to be an utter disaster on every front. Keir Starmer, totally useless, as predicted, I think, by a
I think
lot
he's
of
probably
people.
close to falling on his sword. Lots of
Well,
stuff about Mandelson today.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, so the thing is that I think that kind of anti-establishment reaction is exactly what you'd expect, and it's deserved, and it's right. And here, that's why my first line in the debate last night: California needs an outsider to shake up a system that is obviously not working.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, which you may and may not be offended, but I don't think you will. Do you think your British accent will put people off? Have you seen Ted Lasso on Netflix?
I haven't actually.
Oh, right. It's about an American NFL coach who goes to
Right.
manage in the Premier League, and he's like this American guy, and he's a bit of an outsider because he's a
Right.
he's a Yank. Do you ever think about your accent and how people perceive you as a
No.
former Brit? No.
There's certain words that you actually have to say in an American accent, otherwise people genuinely don't know what you mean.
Water, latte.
Well, exactly. That comes up a lot because it's one among the many insane things that Democrats are doing in California is crushing our farmers, our agriculture industry, the biggest and most successful in the world.
Yeah.
We have the most fertile farmland, the Central Valley of California, in the world. We lead production on almost everything you can mention. Sometimes massively, 80% of the world's almonds, 70% of the world's pistachios, on and on, berries. About this time of year, maybe a little bit earlier, 90% of the world's salads are grown in California, like salad leaves, leaf salads and so on. So look, we have this amazing ag industry that's been crushed by Democrat policies, in particular denying, for totally ridiculous bureaucratic environmental reasons, I'll now say it in American, water.
Water, yeah.
Water for our great farmers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the R's. You go into a shop, you say, "Can I have a water, please?" And they say, "What?
Right.
What are you talking about?"
And then the other one, of course, is ranch.
How do you say that? Ranch.
Our great ranchers.
Yeah.
But look, the thing is that the last Republican governor had an accent much stronger than mine.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, someone mentioned that to me
I
today.
think it's going to be okay. And
Okay.
actually, I have to say, it does actually, capture to a certain extent the truth of the situation, which is it is time for an outsider.
Yeah.
The insiders, the establishment politicians have completely failed. And we do need someone to come in and shake it up. And so far I'm getting a great reaction, and we've got the energy, the momentum, leading on fundraising, at or top of the polls. It's going well, and winning the debate last night was just the latest example of the real momentum we have here. I think we can really do this. My point is that after I'm elected at the end of this year and take office early next year, finally instead of this, what you got now, which is the politicians here just endlessly picking fights with the Trump administration in order to score political points, particularly Gavin Newsom, the current governor, who's running for president. He hasn't announced it yet, but all he's interested in is positioning himself with the Democrat base, the far left activists, so that they pick him in the primary. So he's constantly fighting with picking fights, trolling the president on social media, filing lawsuits. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You've got to work together to get things done, and that's going to be my plan.
I liked how you said when you're elected.
Yes,
Confidence.
that's the
You
plan.
need that, right?
Exactly.
I guess with a state and with a nation like the UK, that's what you need. You need some intent, some belief.
Yeah, look, California is the fourth biggest economy in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's with these insane policies that make everything so expensive and time-consuming and such a hassle. So just imagine, I'm very confident that we can, when I'm elected and start getting rid of this bloat in the government, we can become the third. I think we're not going to catch China, but I'm very confident we can become the world's third biggest economy.
Who's the top three? China?
Germany.
Oh,
US,
really?
yeah.
Wow, okay.
And then you've got, and then actually Japan, California, India, all very close.
Big responsibility.
Yeah, but we'll do it.
Yeah. Last question, do you miss the UK? Anything about the UK?
I'm so sorry, but not really.
No.
I love it here. This is my home. I feel at home in a way that really, there's something about California that it's not just the physical beauty and the amazing lifestyle you can have here. There's something in the spirit of California that really, I connect with on a very deep and emotional level. It's that kind of rebel spirit, that idea that you can just do anything, go for anything, build amazing businesses, do whatever you want to do, and you can follow that dream here in California. Of course, that's what's being crushed by these busybody bureaucrats with their nanny state, and that's what we need to get rid of, to kind of really allow that rebel spirit to break free and make this state, as the theme of my campaign is, truly golden again.
Nice one. Steve, thank you very much.
Good to see
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks.